Sparky Coach Podcast, Crowie here. What's up? We are talking today, this is Finding Work ASAP Part 2. In other words, you are in dire straits, you are up the creek, there is zero paddle, you are staring down the schedule and there is nothing, nada, zip, or there's minimal staff, or there's a staff member that's unbooked, and unbooked means uncooked, and uncooked means you're not eating, and you're not eating means there's no money, and there's no money means you've got a foundational issue. And that's the pathway. So first and foremost, this is part 2. So, always, and I'll begin this session by saying, like, more often than not, the situation could have been resolved by the work you put in finding work or generating leads or whatever you want to call it 3 to 6 months ago. So in other words, reference back 3 to 6 months, were you putting in the time, energy, effort, quoting, meeting new people, breaking some bread, drinking some kombuchas, having some coffees, having some beers, having some schnitzels with people that you wanted to do business with people that you wanted to work with? Did you take your organic opportunities? Did you take your force opportunities? Did you take everything that you could have taken? Were you committed? Were you diligent? Were you a disciple of the trade gods, or were you not? And more often than not, I would say you were not. And I think upon that critical reflection, you can now start to be like, okay, so what I do now to timestamp this, it is September 2024. What I do now determines December, Jan, Feb, March, and so on. All right, going from here. So we want to... We've talked about prioritising staff members' billable hours first. We've talked about consider bringing existing work forward. We're talking about follow up all outstanding quotes. Now I want to talk about prioritising quoting. So one of the things you want to do is one thing that it's so funny. I remember when we were really busy and I was like, oh yeah, we don't come to site for quotes under $5,000. We don't even quote jobs under $5,000. We'll just be there next Tuesday. just doing the job because I don't have time to come around to see you and that's a form. I often look back and be like, had I gone to site and made the time or employed someone to go to site and make the time and train them up, the money you can make by efficient quoting in that sub $5,000 mark is amazing. And running through our accelerator short course where we measure billable hours, it's like I'm genuinely impressed. All our members are picking it up and it's freaking legendary. Like you're looking at the net profit of some jobs of some jobs just being like 40, 50, 60%. I'm like, you can't make that kind of money. You can't make this up. You can't do that on a larger job. But the difference between being 100% efficient or 150% efficient on a $1,000 job might be $200. It might be $150. It might be $250. Like it's such a minimal cost in the scope of the job. So there's so much money to be made in those small stuff. And yes, it is admin heavy. Yes, there's a bit of logistics. Yes, there's a bit of organizing. Yes, there's a bit of scheduling. Yes, there's a bit of rescheduling, but if the money's there, then it's definitely worth it. And diversification is amazing because it's like, how do you meet those commercial clients as you're growing your business? Chances are you meet them by doing the 2 PowerPoints at their sister's friend's house, and then like, oh, you've got to use Jimmy, he's the best electrician, and you're like, I know, I am the best electrician, and that's the organic nature of growing the business, and it's the coolest thing ever. So. But prioritizing quoting is really important because it's when you can get your quotes out effectively and efficiently and on time. I'm not even going to say you double your conversion rate. You might triple it. You might quadruple it. You significantly increase your chance of winning the job. So in other words, if I go to your house for a switchboard upgrade, quote it, have a look. Oh yeah, we do this, and this. Yeah, cool. It's $2,500. It's $5,000, $6,000, whatever. Whatever service mains, consumer mains, level 2 fees, earthing system, whatever's required. Like it's just gonna be in that sort of $2,000 to $6,000 range, depending on where you live and what you do and who you pay and that kind of stuff. And I reference that by saying New South Wales have level 2 Sparkies, Victoria have truck appointments, and Queensland just do whatever the hell they want. It's like no gloves, no problems. Am I right? No worries. Yeah, we'll just do it. Like up a pole, we're going psycho. You know why? Because we live north of the border and we do what we want when we want because we are the raw dog lords. To be limitless. to be limitless. How is it up there, Queenslanders? How is it? Are you happy? I hope you're happy. But prioritise quoting. There's nothing like being quiet or light in the schedule and someone calls you for quotes like, I'm at the front. You're just like straight there, just like, I'm going, I'm coming over. And you get when you can get the quote out either on time or on site, when there's a zero delay, you'll find a significant increase because lots of people go to site, do the quote, go to site, I'll get the quote back to you this afternoon, and then 3.5 weeks later, the quote trickles in. What was urgent is now not urgent, and it's like, oh, that's a quote. Well, he said that switchboard upgrade, or she said that switchboard upgrade was really important to do, but it can't have been that important if it took the quote 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks to get back to me. So you're very hard pressed saying, hey, this board needs an upgrade urgently when the quote was anything but urgent. So it's almost like you're not practicing what you preach, and you're throwing this quote out, like, hey, I think we need to do that. And I was like, well, you didn't act like it. You didn't act like that at all. So it's like prioritise quoting. I often think in general your quote should go out on time or on site. On site, if possible, definitely is a great way forward, especially if you're the business owner going around quoting and the job you can get it out on time, get it out on site. Or if not, set the time at that point. So if you're going there, you got to get a price on some light fittings on something or whatever. You got to think about something, go away, and then and be like, I have the quote back to you tomorrow afternoon, and make sure it's in the inbox tomorrow afternoon. And if you're going to be late tomorrow afternoon, send a quick text, 2 minutes. Hey, just so you know, I'm going to get the quote back to you tomorrow. I got a bit caught today. Just that little bit of communication changes everything. But anyone that's been efficient or effective or diligent in quoting will know when it goes out on time or on site, your conversion rate significantly increases. So I want to encourage you, what kind of business do you want to run? Because if you want to run a business that's growing, that's profitable, that's that's maximizing opportunities, because there's a lot of lost time quoting, and so many of us are losing time quoting jobs, and we're not winning them because we're just not getting the quote out, or the quote's coming out late. And if you're a little bit more diligent, we could get that job landed, and then driving out there wouldn't be a waste of time. Right? Because I would. And then when you're going out to quote, like, maybe the best thing you can do is, like, if you're staying in the office, stay in the office. But if you're leaving, leave. So don't go out every morning and come back and expect everything to be okay, because chances are you're going to go out from 7 till 10, start someone and see someone, and then have a coffee and come back. It's 11, have some lunch, it's 12, take up a phone calls, it's 1, close the day, it's 3:30. Oh, cool. Oh, I'm so busy. No, you're just extremely disorganized and extremely unproductive and not diligent. Like, you would never treat an on-site job like that. You would never just pop in and pop back and have some lunch and look at Facebook or whatever you're doing. You wouldn't do that on-site, so don't do it in the office. Be diligent. But, like, my biggest encouragement is to prioritize quoting, but not just when you're quiet all the time, because often we're left in situations when we need work, but if we had have maximized our quoting opportunities, if we had have got out to site, if we had have got the quote out, if we had have been diligent, we would have landed it. If we had have landed it, we would have got that client for life. And then not only that client, their network or their friends or their family, we get them too. So now it's not just them, now we've got their friends and family, right? Now we not just have their friends and family, we've got their friends and family. So you've got a double friends and family. Yes, and so you've increased your reach dramatically by just getting that quote out and doing the job. So it's like, prioritize quoting, but not just when you're quiet. Try and treat it with diligence all the time. All right, what are you going to do next? I'm going to put this in. You're going to do a text campaign or email marketing campaign. This is super interesting. When I say text campaign, I would just be honest and be like, you can do this on like ClickSend, and you can just be like, hey, we've got a gap in the schedule. Hey, it's coming into this. We've got this. I just think you've got to be honest with the whole thing. If you've got a gap, you've got a gap. If you need work, you need work. And I've seen this crash and burn, and I've seen it work. So one of our members, who shall remain nameless, sent this out twice within a 3-month period, something along the lines of, hey, it's X from XYZ. We've got a gap in the schedule. If you need any of those pesky electrical jobs done, let us know. and they've got 25 grand worth of work twice, 25 grand worth of work twice out of this, and full send to like 3,000 clients both times, right? So it's just like amazing. I've had another client do it, nothing. just like, and then I heard a story back in the day, a couple of years ago, of someone doing it and they got 3 callbacks. It's like, okay, that wasn't the plan. But like, I think that's such a great idea. One of our other members put out an email campaign. We have a gap, you know, and then they got, I think it was like 15 to 20 grand worth of work, just people calling up and doing stuff. And, you know, it's the whole theory of working promotes working. Like once you're out and moving, people are seeing the van. Once you're on site, people are going, oh, while you're here, can you do this? Once you do that job for that person and the invoice is on time and it's as you said it was going to be, and then they tell their neighbor and the neighbor tells their friend. So it's like by working, you're just increasing your organic opportunity for business growth, right? And as you're moving around town and you're breaking bread and you're having coffees, and the amount of work we got just from on the way, just from on the go, just from being around, and you're having lunch somewhere, dinner somewhere, you got your uniform on, you got your hoodie on, your t-shirt on, whatever on, and it's like, oh, you electrical work? Yeah, I do. Oh, cool, I got a friend of needs this. Like so much stuff happens on the way. So much stuff in business just happens as you're moving forward, as you're doing, as they say in Frozen 2, the next right thing. As you're moving from job to job, from place to place, from space to space, there's so much opportunity around. As you're on that building site, you're talking to that plumber. As you're talking to that plumber, they also work with builders. They also work with other trades. They also know an aircon company you can work with. They also know someone who needs solar. They also know someone who needs this, because you're moving through and this is why it was so important to, like, for me as a company to be like, whenever the client breaks, you break. So it's like if you're working on a building site, whenever they break, you break. Twice, 3 times, 1 time, that's really important for me, that we sit down and we're social and we're friendly and we're chatting, because the business is based upon long-term relationships, and long-term relationships are based upon trust, and trust is built by breaking bread and chatting and having some fun, you know? So and being where you said you're going to be. And no one said you have to have the same interests, but, you know, if our goal is excellent work, and if our goal is putting the job first, then we've got the same interests at heart. Our goal is like, let's get this thing sorted. We're going to be in and out of here. We're going to be out of your way. Then we've got a mutual connection, and that is we're both good at our jobs, and that's legendary. So text campaign, email campaign, I've seen it go awesome. Another thing you can do on this is a Facebook post for personal, Instagram posts, like anything like that can be so beneficial. Just throwing something up on a Facebook group. Facebook groups, I've got a theory, the closer you are to the city, the worse your group is. So it's like the further out from the city, probably the more legendary, the more awesome your group is, because it's like, you know, I don't know, I just feel like anything in the city is just real psycho. Anyway, that could be a generic terminology, but don't knock it if you haven't tried it. So don't knock the just text campaigns. Don't knock calling your existing clients and be like, hey, have you got anything coming up? Hey, have you got anything we can work on? Hey, is there anything coming up? We've all got those commercial places that are like, oh, I haven't done the test and tag there. I haven't done the exit and the merge side. I haven't done the thermal imaging. I haven't done this, I haven't done that. When you're quiet, it can be a fantastic time to actually like be diligent with that job you were trusted with, that you kept walking past those things. And this is why the mantra for me always came back to the most important job is the one you're at, because I went through the cycles of business, busy, quiet, busy, probably way more busy than quiet, more than likely. But it's like when you go through the quiet times, you don't take the busy times for granted. Now it's like, well, busy is subjective, right? Like I can get out of busy by more labor, but when you're quiet, it's very hard to get out of being quiet. So let's make a rule to not walk past things when we're on site. So we're on that commercial site, we're not going to walk past all that stuff that needs to get done. We were on that residential site, we're not going to walk past an electrical health check with like, where we go through, hey, that PowerPoint's broken, that board needs upgrading, hey, this needs that. We're going to suggest these things because it's thorough, and when we're thorough, we're being good at our job. We're being good at our job, the client clients like, oh, these people are awesome, use them, and then people you can build that trust and build that rapport and build those relationships. But it's very, very important that we're good at our job, and it's very, very important that the most important job is the one you're at, because it's like you see too many people just go to a job and walk past things that need to be changed or upgraded or updated, or they walk past things like, oh, the circuit's tripping, I'll just lock it off and see you later. No, stay for 4 to 6 hours. Fix it, finish it. Don't just leave. If there's something to do, do it. So it's really, really important that, like, we used to have a rule at Ruffian that if you're roughing in a job, everything had to be done. So ventilation done, punched to outside, everything punched out of timber, maps completed. If you had time, can we go back and if they weren't in a rush, can you quick connect everything? TV aerial done, like everything done, right? Board completed, everything sort of on that first, once it gets gyprocked, we used to sort of fit everything off and sandwich bag it and put everything on a temp lead and test it to make sure there's no mistakes, because there's always going to be a mistake, probably more likely than not, one on every job. Like, it's pretty rare to have a $30,000 or $40,000 job or a $100,000 job without something going a little bit wrong, right? So you've got to check and test and measure and be thorough. And when we're thorough, there's no mistakes. When there's no mistakes, our reputation grows. Our reputation grows, the trust grows. And when the trust grows, the relationship builds. So it's really, really interesting, but it's like, don't just shut down to like a text campaign or email marketing campaign. Hey, if you need it, you need it. And I think you've got to let go of any ego or insecurity. No one's judging you. If you've got to put something out there on a Facebook group, it's not embarrassing. It's just like, you got to do what you got to do, right? You got to do what you got to do. And how do you know what's going to work or not work? You are not Nostradamus. You are just a Sparky. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. So that's part 2 of what you can do when you are quiet. Part 3 coming up soon. Peace.